Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy, and we are here with author Elizabeth O'Rourke. So we're really excited. Thank you so much for being here. Mandy is, I think you're a different shade of red over there. She's so excited.
I am. I am very excited.
Fangirling a little bit.
I am.
Yeah.
I have read all of your books, and this is just like, I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I'm glad you guys invited me. I don't get invited to anything when it's like I'm not in book release season. So yeah. And normally, like if I've just released a book, I'm like so kind of tired of talking about the book that I'm like, oh
Yeah.
So this is nice. I'm like all refreshed.
Yeah, we love doing our author interviews. They're a lot of fun just to get to sit down and chat about all your books and not just whatever the new releases too. So that's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So the first question is, if somebody's not familiar with your books, what type of books do you write, like tropes and things like that?
So I mostly write contemporary romance. I do have one 4-book series that is contemporary, but it's also got a little time travel in it. It's like maybe or like almost like magical realism. But primarily it's contemporary romance, and most of it is somewhat angsty. I would say I have one series, the Devil's series, that's a little more like rom-com-ish. But they all have like, even when I try to write a funny book, I end up like killing someone or making it tragic. So they're all a little angsty.
We all love a little angst. So that's good. That's great. Yeah.
The Parallel series was my very first book by you. That's what got me hooked. I loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the series that like, it doesn't sell at all, but that's the series that like bloggers in particular are like, oh, that's my number one. It's weird. Like it doesn't sell at all, but that's
it's so good.
People love. So
yeah, it is. It's really good. So I'm always surprised by that.
Yeah, I think we actually included that in a books that needed more hype video once.
So.
Well,
because we're like, how are people not reading this? This is like the best.
I think it's like this weird, like it doesn't fall into, it's not like an Outlander, like I'm going back to 1700s and meeting somebody. It's not that kind of time travel, but it's also not straight contemporary. And I think it's hard to break into like a genre that's kind of like a mix that they don't always do well. So lesson learned. Straight up contemporary romance from now on.
Oh, it was.
I loved
we can put and we can put a little spoiler thing on here because I think it's kind of spoiler for the book. But I was just telling Mandy that, and she knows this because we were reading it. I was like, I don't know if I can get through it because my son had a brain tumor when he was 11. It was benign and it was removed, but when we started to get into it, and I'm like, it's her neurologist. I'm like, oh my God. Like, can I get through this? I did, and it was amazing, but it was one of those where I'm like, I didn't realize I had a little PTSD from this, but apparently I did. So,
well, I'm glad that your son,
it was great. I mean, he's fine. He's 18 now. He's fine. But, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh, this is bringing up a little bit of something. So it made it extra angsty for me. So,
well, and funnily enough, one of the like it primarily has gotten pretty good reviews, but somebody wrote, I think Elizabeth O'Rourke must have a brain tumor herself to have written this book. And then she was like critical of like the medical aspects of it. And I was like, dude, like I worked in a hospital forever. Like that's like, I mean, obviously the brain tumor is a little different because it had like a paranormal element, like, but like the medical aspects were probably the only part of this book that were realistic. So anyway.
Yeah. And I felt like as someone who's been through this kind of thing, the medical aspects were spot on. So that's what made it so real was the medical aspects. So
take that person who said I had a brain tumor.
That's right. That was just rude.
that was back in the days when I read my bad reviews. I don't read them anymore.
I don't think that they'd be very good for your health to read those, like for your mental health. So
no. So do you have a favorite book you've written or a favorite character?
You know, I have like a couple of favorites. Henri from Across Time and Across Eternity, the second half of the Parallel series, is one of my favorite dudes. I really like, and then I've got a book coming out in August. It's the final book in the summer series. And that couple, Daisy and Harrison, I just loved. I loved Daisy. I thought she was a hoot. and I liked Harrison. I kind of like I don't know why this is the case, but I tend to like the lawyerish like guy in a suit sort of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I really liked Harrison.
I can't wait for that book. The teasers that we saw of that in the last one, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait.
Yeah, Daisy's fun because she's not like my normal heroine, but I mean she's kind of like a smartass, but she's but I don't want it to be a spoiler, but she's not like really hard charging or, you know, she's not like a CFO or anything. She's a little aimless, so she was different than my normal heroines, but she was really fun to write. So
I can't wait.
I know. I get the man in a business suit thing. I remember telling my mom, when I grew up, we grew up in a logging community. Like everybody, Mandy and I both, like most people were loggers. It was a huge logging community. My dad was a logger. And I remember telling my mom, I just want a businessman. I just want a man who's going to go in and wear a suit every day and be the boss and be in charge. I got one, but he doesn't wear a suit to work. So he wears his jeans. I'm like, wait a minute.
You just make him like maybe on your anniversary every year. You can
he'll dress up for he dresses up for nice events. He's also like, we're West Coast, he's East Coast, right? He grew up in New York, and so when we go to weddings and stuff here on the West Coast, we wear jeans. Like people don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people don't dress up.
Not,
I mean, like not all the time.
No,
the guys will though. The guys will. It depends on the wedding. But
I'm glad I'm actually going to my first West Coast wedding like in September. So this is good. I'm gonna wear jeans. I'm making notes.
No, not all. Jessica's going to weird West Coast weddings. Not
I'm just saying
it's too late. I'm wearing a tank top and jeans to my cousin.
There you go. You're fine. You're gonna be fine.
Damage is done.
We're just a lot less formal over here.
Yeah.
And so when he goes back east for things like his dad's funeral, he wanted to wear like a sport coat, tie, shirt, like he wanted like a matching suit, and I'm like, why wouldn't you just wear slacks and a button-down shirt and maybe a tie? But why do you need all of that? Like because he does dress that way, but it's just that's the East Coast in him.
Oh, okay.
We're here, it's far more casual.
All right.
So
okay.
Mm-hmm. It is. My mother-in-law hates it.
So if somebody was new to your books, where would you recommend someone start?
So again, it would kind of depend on if they really love angst or if they really want something a little funnier, like kind of a little bit lighter. If they like something light, I would say Deal with the Devil. And then if they want like super mega angst, I would say The Summer We Fell.
Okay.
And if they're like one of the 5% of the population willing to read the parallel series, then parallel. 5% of the reading romance population.
Yeah.
I like to tell people to read Waking Olivia.
I mean, a lot of people, that's like their go-to. But for me, like as an author, I would say like there's only 2 books in that series. So it's kind of like, I always say The Summer We Fell because that's, there's some place to go after each book.
Yeah. There's more options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just really love Waking Olivia too.
Well, thank you.
It was a good book.
Is that what you sent me?
Taboo.
Is that what you sent me for my birthday or for our anniversary?
I sent it to you. I don't remember which. I think it was your birthday.
It was my birthday.
So you need to read it.
Yeah, I do.
You haven't read it yet?
I haven't. It's still on my shelf. I mean, like with 3,000 other books that I want to read that, I haven't had. There's just so many good books, and it's hard to get to them all.
My Kindle is full of books that I have downloaded but haven't read. And then like I've got all these bookshelves here and books, just as many bookshelves on this side of the room. And I've read it's like I go to an airport and I buy 4 books and I'll maybe read one. So.
When we go camping, because we go camping like all the time throughout the summer, I download a good 20 plus books just to go, or I'll take some with me as well. And my husband's like, are you really going to read those? Like,
are you planning to participate in this camping trip or
No, we already had this discussion last week. I lay in my hammock and read the whole time.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I might go kayaking with them, but I'm like, you know what? You guys go do your thing. I'm going to lay in the hammock and read. So I can get probably, if we're there for a week, I can probably get 10 books in, but I can't get to 20. One time I downloaded 50. I don't know what I was thinking.
Wow.
It's the mood reader. You don't know what mood you're going to be in during it, so you got to prepare. Mm-hmm.
All right. So can you share anything that you're currently working on or any upcoming projects that you have?
Okay, well, I already alluded to it, but Daisy and Harrison's book comes out at the end of August. It's age gap romance. If for anyone who read the last book in the series at the end of May, Liam was the main character of that, and this is Liam's niece, which isn't as like extreme as it sounds, because Liam's sister is older. She got pregnant in high school, so I think the age difference is like 11 years. But Daisy has come home for the summer from college, and she basically blackmails her uncle's friend into letting her have a place to stay for the summer. And she's been in love with him since she was little. And he's just gone through a divorce, and he has been lying to everyone about how the whole thing unfolded. And he's like kind of fighting off any feelings he has for her for quite a while. But she's very fun. There's a lot of surfing. So it's a fun book. It's a little lighter. My editor was like, oh, it's like the summer series and the devil series had a baby, because Daisy's pretty funny and he's pretty funny. And
I can't wait. I'm anticipating it's going to be a little angsty because it sounds like at the blurb at the end there, it kind of feels like Harrison is not very eager for people to know what's going on in his life or that Daisy's living with him.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's basically like, no one can know that you stayed here. And at one point, in fact, he says this, and she's like, everyone would think you were the luckiest man alive. And he like is mentally thinking, well, yes, but that doesn't refute the point that no one can ever know, because that's exactly what they will think. And yeah, so it's kind of a slow burn. Like, I think almost all of my books are slow burns. And it's a little forbidden-ish, and there's some stuff going on in the background with Daisy that, yeah, it does make it a little angsty.
I cannot wait.
I'm happy. It's my favorite book in the summer series. I'm like completely in love with it. So
I loved how you took, this is a couple books back in the summer series, but you have Kate, who you kind of make us hate in one of the books. And then in the very next book, I literally had tears for her from what she was going through, because you start to see why she's behaving the way she is. And like, oh my gosh. I mean, like, to take a character that you hate in one book and then you're crying for in the next book that's a lot.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, I have a psychology background. That's what I studied in grad school, and I was a terrible therapist, but I did actually have to go to the school and do all the work. And but so I think because I have that background, I kind of in my head, anybody is redeemable, and anybody who's, of course, I don't really practice this so much, but like the colleague you absolutely loathe, the neighbor that you loathe, whoever it is, like, I think that if you actually knew what made them so loathsome, you would have some forgiveness for them. So that's the thing. Like, in real life, I would probably be like, oh, Kate, she's such a bitch. But like, as an author, you get to go delve into what made her that way, which is fun.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like too with our kids when they were in school, and they'd be like, oh, this person's being mean to me. And I would typically tell them, and as the mom, I probably knew more about that child's life because it's a smaller school than the kids did. And I'd be like, well, their home life isn't that great, or this is what just happened. And you have to take that into consideration. They're not being mean to you because they're horrible kids. They're being mean to you because they're dealing with something that you're probably not having to deal with. And, and I think that's just kind of part of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And also, I mean, I think so much of it is also perception. And like, this is kind of, I'm going off on a tangent, which you guys might want to cut later. My daughter would always come home with these tales of woe, of like how she was bullied, and I get just enraged. And then one day she's telling me the story, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I'm like listening to her. I'm like, dude, you were the bully. Like, it was like the situation where me and my friends were in this room, and this girl came in, and she's like, you know, I really needed to be, this is like, and it turns out it was like the room you're supposed to go to when you need to be alone. And my daughter and her friends had basically bullied this girl into leaving. And she was like, my daughter's like, she was such a jerk. I can't believe she came in. And I'm like, dude, whoa.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get a straight answer out of the kids when they're really
Yeah.
little and to know who's really at fault here or what's going on. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so much of it is perception, and so much of like, I feel like everybody in the world has gone through something that most of us aren't aware of. And it kind of informs your sensibilities going out into the world. And like, this is another boring example about my kids, but like, I have one kid who goes into every situation much like I do, assuming that no one will like him. And I have my youngest who goes out into the world assuming everyone will love him. And it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I feel like I have a lot of these characters like Olivia and Waking Olivia and Gemma and The Devil You Know and Kate, who all have had these like very difficult experiences as they came to adulthood that have made them sort of hard and a little aggressive. And in real life, you would kind of be like, oh, stay away from that person. But it's so again, it's nice to be able to like delve into what made them the way they are and to have them find one person who is able to see past it.
Right. Yeah. And I love that.
Yes. Gemma has this, when she's kind of struggling, she talks about how she's like all these self-doubts and like worries, but what about that like one time when you need to listen to yourself and you don't? And I've always kind of struggled with that a little bit, like, you know, your gut intuition and like being insecure and things like that. And like, how do you know when to actually listen and when not to when you have all those feelings? So when Gemma was talking about that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel for you. Like, I totally relate to that. So I like that you have relatable characters that aren't always just like so self-assured.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I feel like all these characters, like their bad sides are very much me. And then they're like, you know, super hot and confident. And like that part is made up, but like all of their insecurities, I'm just like, what am I feeling super insecure about now? And then that character ends up being like, yeah. So I think that they're probably relatable, like, or they're like that because they're based on real people, mostly me, the bad stuff. But
okay, so we're not going to go back through the books and go, okay, what was the bad stuff in this one? What was
You're going to be like, wow, she is such a bitch.
Never.
I think you're hilarious. I will never forget your newsletter where you were supposed to be packing to go somewhere and you were, I think it was Elsie Silver you were blaming.
My God. Yes. I was going to Indies Invade Philly, and I normally have to fly to signings, right? And so it takes like several days and I have to ship stuff and, you know, and I'm like weighing my suitcases and it's all this nonsense. But because it was in Philly, which is only 2 hours from me, I was like, hey, I can do whatever I want. And then I ended up doing everything like not at all. And then I was reading Elsie's book and threw everything in a suitcase, didn't get enough sleep. And then I get up there and I realize I'm wearing this jumpsuit that cuts like this and I've got no bra. And I ended up having to like go to like CVS and buy like, you know, that KT sports tape.
Yeah.
Like tape my boobs down for the signing. And let me tell you, you do not want to pull KT sports tape off of your nipples at the end of the day. Like that was, yeah. Next time I'll just fly free. But it was like kind of a sheer, like just sheer enough that there was,
yeah. Did you get a rash from that? Because I'd have had a rash from that.
Oh, did you? No, I did not get a rash. I was just like, yeah, like.
I remember there was a few years ago, we went to Hawaii and I wore like the pasty things that lift it up and hold it there. And I did it for like 2 days because I had dresses that didn't have, you know, you could wear a bra with it. And I wanted to be comfortable. And then we were at the airport and I was like, why am I so itchy? And I like looked down and I was like, oh my gosh, I had a total allergic reaction to the pasties. It was bad. So here I am sitting on the airplane just scratching away.
So I was spared that, but yeah, it was agonizing at the end of the day when I got back to my hotel room trying to pull that tape off, and I was like, it was like being waxed, like but on your boob. So yeah, it was not. So I was.
All right, so for everybody out there, don't do that.
Yeah,
no.
Don't do that.
Does not sound fun.
No, just remember your bra. You're good.
I don't read Elsie before you go to a signing. That's the. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That was so funny when you put that in your newsletter.
You're just like, that is too much information, but I'm laughing.
We're good. We
Okay.
share a lot of too much information around here. So yeah, it fit. It wouldn't. Yeah, I remember you called me when you read that, Mandy.
I did.
And you were like, oh my God, you have to go read her newsletter right now. Yeah.
Oh, well, see, it worked. People were talking about your newsletter.
There
then.
you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question was, how do you come up with your ideas? But you kind of already told us a little bit about that.
I feel like, but to be honest, like for instance, I'm working on a new book now that I'm about to leave for the beach, and I'm hoping to kick it out there. But like I have like an overall idea of this book. But what happens is, and what's happened with this book, it's interesting because the whole setup of this book is that initially the whole setup of this book was that this girl she's an adult, but she has lost her whole family unexpectedly. And then I started working on it, and what I was getting stuck on was the fact that it was too tragic to recover from, sort of. Like it's one thing if you lose a parent, and I've lost both of mine, but but to lose everyone at once, I feel like that kind of trauma, like it would take a decade. You know what I mean? Like nobody's bouncing back up and making jokes a month later.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, what if it was just one parent, and then there was like some kind of weird relationship with the rest of the family? Like they were not to say that you can't grieve a stepmother or step siblings at all. And there are lots. My kids, in fact, have a stepmother and a stepsister who are wonderful and a big part of their family. But what if that situation was more complicated? So anyway, I had this whole whole thing plotted out, and I really loved it. But now this book is so much more interesting than it would have been because I had to make this little switch. And now there's so much about the relationship with the stepmother so I end up just like, I feel like the best parts of my book occur because I had to work backward to create a lot of times to create like whatever their drama is, like you want every character to kind of like have their arc, right? And they're kind of like a little bit of a mess. And then by the end, you want them somewhat healed. But then for them to have been a mess in the first place, you need to have like some kind of damage. And so it ended up being like this really no damage is cool, but as an author, I'm like, oh, I love this damage that she's got. This is so great. It's giving me so much to work with. And I mean, for me, I think it's the most interesting part of the book. So
yeah, we like it when one or two characters are damaged. It just adds to the books. So
yeah, nobody wants to read about how. That's why I get accused of this by my editor all the time and my best friend, but like I always want to punt at the end of the book. Like once the characters are together and happy, I'm like, I don't care about these two anymore. Like I only want to write about them when they're not happy and they're fighting for each other. So yeah.
And we've heard that from several authors. You guys just like to be mean to your characters. You don't want them happy.
Exactly. Well, once they're happy together, it's like, yeah, you're done. Yeah, moving on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you like to do in your free time?
I don't do it all that often, so I feel ridiculous saying this, but I do like to surf. I live in DC, so there's no surfing here, but I do go once or twice a year to surf somewhere. I'm really super bad, so anybody who ever is like, oh, there's Elizabeth looking to her surf, and then you're like, oh wow, she's terrible. I'm really bad at it. But I surf, I read. I really don't have much of a life, to be honest. I just started running again. I used to run marathons, and I just started that up again. But yeah, I don't have any life. I've got 3 children, and I work, and that's all there is to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can relate. We each have 3 kids too. So.
Yep. Yep. So my sister-in-law lives right outside of DC, so we go there quite often.
Oh, whereabouts?
Norfolk.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Or was Sterling? It's Norfolk now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we go there and putz around everywhere. So
okay.
Yeah, my mother-in-law lives in South Carolina, so she normally drives up to meet us when that happens. So yeah,
I will be driving through Norfolk in 2 days to go to the Outer Banks. So
yeah, we've made that drive from there to Myrtle Beach, which is my in-laws live right outside of Myrtle Beach, and it was like a 7-hour drive. So we flew all day the day before to Virginia or into DC, and then
drove down to Norfolk. Okay.
It was a long,
that is a very long drive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it was worth it.
So who are some of your favorite authors or favorite books?
So I feel like I don't tend to have like a favorite authors because I will really love, like, adore a book by an author and then not like others, or but I really loved, I've talked about this, I don't know why this book doesn't get more love, but Sweet Filthy Boy by Christina Lauren. I've read that book and reread that book a million times, and it's just like the cutest. Have y'all read it?
Mm-mm.
I have not, but I'm going to write it down.
It's
Yeah.
and you know, the thing is, it's funny because I read, and I talked about it in my newsletter, and then I read a review of that book, and somebody was like, this author talked about this in her newsletter, and I was so like, they were like, and I'm pretty sure that I was the author that they were talking about, and they didn't like it. So, but the main characters have the sweetest relationship. She like meets him in Vegas, and he's from France, and he convinces her to fly to Paris for the summer. And it's supposed to just be for the summer, but it's really spicy. This is before they started being traditionally published. So this is back when the Christina Lauren books were just absolutely filthy. And it is like the best sex scenes ever. I love that book. And then The Hating Game. Everybody talks about The Hating Game, so I don't feel like I should be giving it any more love than I am. But I've read that book a million times. And also that first Allie Hazelwood book, The Love Hypothesis.
Okay.
I've read that one like a solid 5 times, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
So you like to reread books?
You know, so, and this is one of those things that I'm probably not supposed to say, but like I start a lot of books and I get really like pissed off like almost immediately. Like if there's something that I don't like, and it's like, I think it's like the more that you write, the harsher you are with other books, because you're judging them the same way you judge your own. And so immediately I'm like, oh, that's a backstory dump. No. And like some dumb stuff that like 10 years ago I wouldn't even have noticed, but now I'm like, oh, this conversation should have been cut. And then like I drop out of a book like 2 pages in, again and again and again. And then when that happens enough, I get fed up, and then I just go back and reread my own favorites. So
yeah. And Mandy's asking because I reread my favorites all the time, and Mandy has never reread.
Really?
Yeah, I don't reread. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I worry that they're not going to be as good as they were the first time, and I just want them to live in this happy memory.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, and I actually have had that happen lately. Again, it's this whole like, you know, because I've even had this editor who is like, she looks at what I do and she's pointed out like flaws in my writing that I'm trying to address. But these are flaws that obviously I wasn't aware of until like a year ago. And now when I see those flaws in someone else's writing, I'm like, that's appalling. And I'm like, dude, you were doing that until a year ago. So, but yeah, I definitely have had that when I've reread some of my favorites where I'm like, oh, filtering verb. And, you know, it's like so stupid. But
yeah, but I think that's like, so because we read so much, you know, I'll pull up there's several books that people just rave about and love, and you know, let's say it's in the mafia world or something, and I'm like, yeah, no, they did all this stuff wrong. But if you're somebody who doesn't read that trope as much as we do, or, you know, isn't consuming a book a day, they're gonna love that, versus somebody like me who's read so much that I'm like, no, give me something new, give me something different. I've been there, done that, seen it. Right. You know, it just kind of depends on the person and how much you're involved in all of that. So yeah, so I can understand that, you know, especially once you're learning, I would do the same thing. I would pull out things that would bother me that I've been made aware of. And yeah. So
actually another book that, and this is back to like books that I loved, and I haven't read this one again in a long time, so I probably should read it, and hopefully it still holds up. Have you guys read The Bronze Horseman? Oh my gosh, this is such a good book, and I never hear it talked about anymore. It's like, and this will turn people off right here. It takes place in Leningrad during World War II, and I'm probably messing that up because maybe it wasn't called Leningrad during World War II. It changed names, but I think it was. But anyhow, that I know a lot of people won't read World War II, but it is the best like soulmate romance. Can't be together. Like he's really hot. He's dating the older sister of the main character, and he's completely in love with her, and she won't have anything to do with him, even if after he dumps the sister. It's so good.
And who's the author?
Paulina Simmons.
Okay.
I
Simons.
wrote it down, Jessica.
Thank you.
So good.
I love the whole they can't be together. We want them to be together type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I already know the answer to part of this question, but will we get to see you at any author signings?
Yes, so many author signings. So I'm going to be at a smaller signing at a bookstore in Wilmington in September, and then Love in Vegas in October, and then Phoenix in February, Chicago in May. There's I'm going to be doing like a book tour, I believe, in June, but it hasn't been announced. With a book that I've got a deal that I signed that hasn't been announced, and then in July at Rare in London.
Okay.
Okay. We will see you in Vegas and in Phoenix.
Oh, yay!
Yes. Yep. Yay.
Very excited about that.
So your book tour will be for a new book then, right? Would that be?
No.
No? Okay. Oh, sorry.
I don't think I'm supposed to say until it's getting announced like August 1st, I think. So,
Okay.
but I sold the rights to one of my series, and
Okay.
So.
I'm just hoping for more books from you. That's all.
Yeah. End of August, and then hopefully, if this beach trip works out the way I want, then another one this fall. So.
Okay.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't talked about?
I can't think of anything. I'm sure that I think I probably, as always, shared way too much. I mean, what do we talked about my boobs and
You know what? Boobs are we talk about boobs quite often on our channel.
Okay, so good.
So you're good. You're good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you gave us some good life tips too there.
Yeah.
Oh, with the KT tape? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most people actually just pulled together enough to remember to bring a bra. Not me. So
Yeah.
I would have some. I'm a little bit bigger chested than some people, so I would already have a problem. Like just trying to hustle out the door. I would be like, oh dear, I need to grab my bra.
Yeah, no, so we talk about this all the time on our channel. I have the BRCA2 gene, so I elected to have a double mastectomy and reconstruction. Okay. I don't have nipples, and I really can't feel my boobs. They're great boobs, but I can't feel them. So I could do that, but I'd probably get a rash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Better to avoid it.
Mine are still perky enough now that I wouldn't need a bra.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you were scared, you overshared. I think Jessica.
Yeah, I always
Jessica
overshare.
Joined you.
Yeah, Mandy hates it. I always overshare. Like, I'm an open book. Yeah. We're good.
Yeah, there's been a few times where I've been like, I've told you shouldn't be telling people this that you just meet.
Wasn't that when we met Karen Crompton? I was telling something and Mandy's like, stop.
Yes.
Stop telling her things.
You just met her.
We love her. She loves me and my oversharing. It's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, what is the best way for readers to connect with you?
These days, probably Instagram. I'm at Elizabeth O'Rourke on Instagram. I do have a Facebook group, Elizabeth O'Rourke Books, but I feel like nobody's on Facebook anymore. So, yeah, either of those. I have not really delved into TikTok. I know I'm supposed to, but this makes me in the minority. But if I go onto there, I end up watching like 6 hours straight of like makeup videos or recipe videos, and then no work gets accomplished. So I don't really go on TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, it sucks you in real quickly, and you don't realize how much time has passed when you've been scrolling on TikTok. You're like, oh my gosh, an hour's gone by. This is nuts.
Yeah. I wouldn't. Yeah, my career would just like evaporate if I.
Yeah, because I normally get on there to like look up something by an author or something, and I get distracted, and then I'm like, what am I doing in here? I've been in here for an hour, and then I get out of it, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to look up what I was going to look up, and I go back in there, and then I get distracted again. So It's a problem. Yeah.
Well, hopefully we don't get a newsletter from you saying, oh, sorry, there won't be any books for a while. I got stuck down TikTok.
I started talking about TikTok with guys. And
yeah, that's funny.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate
Thanks
it
for
so
having me.
much.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
All right, guys. So that's it for this time. We will see you in the next video.